questionnaires, surveys, feedback forms, quizzes, exit slips, whatever you want to call them, asking questions is a great way to collect information that you can use to make decisions. However, the information that you collect is only as good as the questions you ask. Today, I want to talk about two key types of questions: open-ended questions and closed-ended or closed response questions, and talk about when you might use one versus the other. So first things first, an open-ended response is also known as free response or the text entry written response. That's when you ask a question and you basically give people a blank box and are like, you tell me your answer in your own words. That's open-ended. A closed-ended or closed response is something where you are spelling out, listing, providing choices for this person. So it might be multiple choice, it might be select all that apply, it might be a ranking system, doesn't matter, but you're providing preset choices versus this like empty box, tell me whatever you want to answer this question. Now, I really believe that it's important that you always pick your type of question that you're going to ask to collect information based on what you want to know. So this basically means this. You wouldn't say, I'm never going to use any open-ended questions. Like, I'm never using any open-ended questions. Because it could be that having people explain something in their own words would get you the best information to answer the question that you have, to learn what you want to learn, in which case you should be using an open-ended response because that's the best way to get there. The caveat there is that you also have to think about context and like what's the best information you can get within your current limitations or constraints, challenges. So that might be like time, money, know-how, right? So open-ended responses can be more challenging to analyze, right? Like you're gonna get a bunch of text responses, and depending how many people you're asking your questions to, collecting, seeking information from, it can be really difficult to go through all of that data, particularly in a systematic way. Something I see a lot is people default to using open-ended responses because they seem less challenging to write. People are like, yeah, these are the things I want to know. Great. People type in their responses. But then when you're going to analyze that data, people tend to be drawn to and remember things that people write that are particularly like good or particularly bad or particularly shocking, whereas how to analyze that data correctly would be to go through everything and systematically like have a strategy for identifying themes in what people say, because you don't want to make a decision based on one really, really bad comment or one really, really good comment. You want to make decisions based on themes that reflect what most people are saying, right? So that's one of the challenges when you do open-ended responses, is that it can just be more time-consuming and difficult to analyze that information. It can also be more demanding on the person who's taking your survey. I know this is just like personal experience, so sample size of one, just me. But if I open a survey and it's like a bunch of open-ended text responses, I instantly close it because I'm like, that's gonna take too long. I don't wanna think that hard right now. It's just like too much. So you have to think about one, the experience of the person taking it, and then two, what you're gonna do on the analysis side when you're deciding whether or not open-ended is really the best way for you to get information. So all of that being said, I typically advise people to do closed-ended responses. Quicker to analyze, easier for people to respond to, and of course you can always add like an other please specify box. So if you haven't for some reason covered all the possible choices someone might want to consider, they can still write in their own, which I think is a nice compromise. So I want to give an example of how this could look for someone who's trying to decide between the two. So let's say that you are doing some market research and you want to know the biggest challenges that your prospective clients face with their business. So if you did this open-ended text entry written response, you might say, what is the biggest challenge you face with your business? And then you would give them a blank space They would write whatever they feel their biggest challenge is, right? On the flip side, well, okay, so you would do that, and then you would read through all the responses, you would look to find themes, you might count up how many people said each thing. Like you would do a qualitative analysis of that information in order to identify what are the key challenges that your prospective clients are facing with their business. On the flip side, if you were to close it up, to make this a closed response question, you might say, what is the biggest challenge you face with your business? And then provide a list that is relevant to your business. So here's an example of some choices you might provide. Balancing my work life and personal life, finding time to create content, attracting my ideal clients, deciding how much I should charge people. Other, please specify. When you send that out, people click the box that click the circle, fill in the circle, whatever your survey looks like for what applies to them. And you very quickly know like what percentage of people have work-life balance as the biggest challenge and what percentage of people have attracting their ideal client as the biggest challenge. You get information very quickly that allows you to make decisions that you can use to inform your business. So to me, that second option, quicker for people to answer, and it's giving you this like fast, shareable information. So there's no hard and fast rule for like, should I have it open-ended? Should I have it closed-ended? But I would definitely encourage you to close up more of your questions. Make it easier for the people answering, make it easier for you in terms of analysis. And the way I advise people do this is as you are going through each of your questions, ask yourself, do I need a written response? Is the only way that I can get really quality information here is to have someone write or type out a full response? And if the answer is yes, like that's a point in the open-ended category. Then I would ask, will I be able to analyze these written responses in a way where I feel confident about the results and in a way that is like timely, where I'll get the information on time? And if the answer to that is yes, point for written response. If it's no, consider closing it up. And then lastly, I like to ask, could I more easily get this information by providing categories people can choose from? Sometimes you already know the categories you want to ask about, so it would be easier just to list them there. And I think if you go through those things, you can make an informed choice about whether or not to be open or closed-ended, open or closed responses. So I hope that helps. If you have any other questions, drop them below in a comment. I'd love to hear from you all and cover more topics that matter to you.